Humans once cowed the galaxy simply by refusing to make a sound. The archive halls of the Galactic Academy thrummed with the usual mesh of voices, clicks, whistles, and mechanical hums. Countless species studied old wars and the treaties that followed. Yet one dossier always made the room grow strangely still. The human file. Professors warned students never to sneer at Earth's children for their crude looks, never to shrug off their odd habits, and above all never to underrate the meaning of their silence. Still, the youngest cadets rolled their many eyes, twitched antennae, or rattled tails. Surely no race could force an empire to withdraw just by shutting up. Instructors insisted it had happened, but the accounts were broken, scattered, almost as if the galaxy preferred to forget. Only shards remained. A boarding student named Ural found herself staring at one such shard. She was young for her kind, skin shimmering a soft green, her frills fluttering with each breath. "Professor," she read aloud, "it says here that during the siege of Delara the humans were utterly silent for 3 hours. No transmissions, no chatter. Nothing. Then the attackers fled. Fled without fighting. Why would that be frightening?" The class snickered. The professor did not. He raised a long finger, the hue of weathered silver, and gestured at the empty hollow. "Because, child, every other species makes noise when threatened. We hiss, click, sing, broadcast. Even the stolid Tharks beat their carapaces to warn. Noise signals life, planning, thought. Silence meant the humans were preparing something they did not want heard. You all look puzzled," he added. But maybe they were out of breath or asleep. Nervous chuckles skittered across the room. Then the professor's stare shut them down. That is what Admiral Krell of the Zorvani assumed. He mistook silence for feebleness. 3 hours later his flagship drifted in fragments across 3 systems. The chamber sobered. The professor let the hush deepen before he went on. "You see, human silence means they are deciding how to win. And when they move, they do so in ways the galaxy cannot foresee. Their voices are loud, but their silence louder." Ural still had doubts. Tales of humans always sounded like stories mothers told to frighten hatchlings. She vowed to learn more. A few days later she wandered to the Academy's cultural wing where exchange students lived and mixed. It was noisy as usual. Ilari students humming 7-part chords, Glory pupils thumping flexible spines, and at a corner table humans, comparatively quiet, clustered, playing some game with flat paper cards. Ural edged closer, listening for banter. Nothing. Only the soft rustle of cards and an occasional cough. She nearly leapt when one of them slammed a card down and everyone exploded into laughter. "Uno." Ural jumped. The laugh was harmless, but that sudden burst after prolonged quiet almost made her scales tremble. In a flush she realized how uneasy she'd felt while they'd been silent. It wasn't menace. It was expectation. When she later asked the humans about it, they only shrugged. "Sometimes silence helps us focus," one said. "Sometimes it means we're savoring the moment. Sometimes it means we're about to do something you won't forget." They smiled like it was a joke, but Ural wasn't convinced. She decided to test the idea. In diplomacy seminar she sat beside a lanky human named Alex. Whenever the instructor posed a question, Ural answered at once with facts, figures, long-winded explanations. Alex said nothing. Totally mute. The instructor, to her astonishment, inclined toward Alex with quiet respect, as if his silence carried more weight than all of Ural's buzzing words. She could stand it no longer. After class she cornered him. "Why didn't you speak? Everyone thought you were plotting something dangerous." Alex grinned. "Maybe I was. Or maybe I was thinking about lunch. You can't tell." That was what unnerved her most, the not knowing. Silence left room for any possibility. Possibilities the galaxy feared more than clear threats. The Academy's records brimmed with incidents where human quietness shifted outcomes. At the Trove negotiations, the humans fell silent after an insult, staring at their offenders for a full minute. The Trove delegates crumpled into apologies, terrified at imagined reprisal. None came. The humans simply thanked them afterward, as if nothing had occurred. The galaxy never quite let that go. Ural began cataloging the phenomenon for her cultural thesis. Still skeptical, thinking some accounts overstated, she was forced to reconsider when a real emergency arose. A neighboring Academy faction accused the humans of stealing a sacred relic. The council chamber erupted, shouting demands, furious accusations. Every species clamored their case, but the humans stayed motionless. No twitch, no smirk, no blink. Their stillness spread through the hall until even the loudest voices stuttered. The accusers faltered, perspiration beading, reconsidering. After an unbearable length of time, the humans finally spoke. "Prove it." That was all. No defensive speech, no threats, only 2 words. Chaos reignited, but Ural remained utterly still. In that instant she grasped why silence terrified everyone. It wasn't mere absence of sound. It was the looming storm of what might follow. What would come next? No one could say. And that uncertainty was the deadliest weapon. Whole fleets surrendered when they realized humans were simply watching, wordless. Ural could not shake the memory of that chamber. She replayed it again and again. The calm stillness of the humans, the way alien voices cracked under the weight of it, the simple dare of "prove it." It was too purposeful to be accidental. She hungered to know how they did it. Curiosity gnawed at her like a parasite. One evening she found Alex in the common lounge, casually bouncing a small ball against the wall. She closed the distance. "You planned that, didn't you?" "Didn't you?" The silence. "You knew everyone would panic." Alex caught the ball mid-bounce, tilted his head and grinned. "Maybe. Maybe not. Sometimes silence is a weapon. Sometimes it's just quiet." His vague reply only frustrated her. Other species had spent centuries perfecting their intimidation displays. Thunderous war cries, the clatter of blades, pheromone storms. Humans needed none of it. They only stood still. Ural grew obsessed. She shadowed them in study halls, training drills, even meals. When humans were loud, they were thunder itself, shouting in contests, laughing until walls trembled. But when that noise ceased, the emptiness carved through the air like a void. It tugged at every thought in the room. Others noticed too. Whispers spread among alien cadets. Don't get caught in their silence. Rumors swirled that the humans were preparing something vast, though no one could say what. Then came the war simulation. Each semester the Academy staged a grand exercise, mixed teams commanding fleets against a simulated invasion. Ural signed up eagerly, along with Alex and several humans. She thought it would prove once and for all. Alien teams erupted into chatter, broadcasting layered plans, predictions, threats, a storm of noise. The humans, nothing. Their comms went dark. Fleets drifted in eerie stillness. "Systems failure," a cadet muttered. But moments later, the human-led force struck. Silent until the instant they moved, then precise, devastating. Enemy lines shattered in seconds. No wasted fire, no telegraphed maneuvers. Their quiet had hidden everything. Ural's scales prickled as she watched the replay. The humans hadn't just won. They'd terrified their foes into retreating before the battle truly began. Silence wasn't absence. It was camouflage. The Academy erupted afterward. Professors debated restrictions. Some species accused the humans of exploiting unfair psychological warfare, yet no law forbade it. Who had ever imagined silence could be lethal? Corridors buzzed. They're too unpredictable. If they're quiet, disaster follows. Ban them from command. The humans only laughed. They joked about founding the Order of Awkward Pauses. They teased each other on who could keep a straight face longest while aliens squirmed. Ural tried to laugh too, but unease lingered. She dug into Earth's archives. She found moments of silence to honor the fallen. Tales of explorers holding breath at the edge of discovery. Poker games, courtroom pauses, standoffs in Western films. Always silence bore weight. Humanity had always known how to wield it. And then came the real test. A raider fleet struck a neutral station, demanding tribute. Panic rippled through the academy. Many cadets assumed they'd be hidden away, but instead a volunteer squad was dispatched. Several humans joined. Ural went too. They approached the station in tight formation, weapons armed. The raider commander filled the channel with jeers and boasts. Every alien species shouted back, rattling arms, hurling threats, singing war hymns. The humans. Their channel was dead silent. The raiders noticed. Their laughter cracked. "Why won't the humans answer?" they demanded. No reply. Seconds dragged like hours. Lights flickered. Even frills ached with the pressure of waiting. Then at last the humans spoke. 2 words. "We're ready." The raider formation wavered. Half fled before a single shot. The rest fought nervously, sloppy, and were swept aside. The battle ended almost before it began. As debris scattered, Ural stared at the humans in awe. They hadn't shouted. They hadn't fired first. They had simply been silent, and that silence had unmade their enemies. For the first time, Ural wondered if humans truly understood what they carried. Or worse, if they knew exactly and only pretended not to. Empires collapse not from human weapons, but from the sound of nothing. The phrase echoed in her mind as the station settled, lights restored, debris cleared, congratulations handed out. None of it felt ordinary. She had seen silence win a war. The galaxy always whispered about human unpredictability. But whispers were nothing compared to watching warships scatter after just 2 words delivered into a crushing pause. Later, in the Academy gardens beneath pale artificial moons, Ural confronted Alex once more. "You must know," she pressed, voice trembling. "What is silence to humans? Why does it terrify everyone else so much?" Alex plucked a leaf from the branch above, rolled it between his fingers and shrugged. "Silence is space. Gives us room to think. It makes others wonder what we might do. Sometimes it's mourning. Sometimes it's planning. Sometimes it's just courtesy. But the truth is, you'll never know which one it is until we decide." Ural shivered. It wasn't arrogance. It was fact. Silence to humans wasn't emptiness. It was a vessel, and what it carried was possibility. In the weeks after the raid, stories spread like wildfire. Merchants repeated them with dramatic flair. Pirates whispered them as warnings. Governments quietly filed them into their calculations. Wherever humans were stationed, raiders hesitated. Trade lanes grew safer. Border skirmishes froze. All of it because of silence. The Academy grew cautious. A special council convened to debate whether human silence should be restricted during training. It was almost absurd. Officials arguing over how to regulate not speaking. Ural was summoned to testify. Her research now considered vital. Standing before the chamber, with dozens of alien eyes fixed on her, she told them what she had learned. You cannot regulate silence. You can only fear what it might mean. And that fear is why the galaxy should value it. Humans do not use silence to torment. They use it with patience. They give us a chance to restrain ourselves before they choose to act. Whispers swept the room. Even hardened skeptics hesitated. They knew she was right, though few wished to admit it. Afterward, Alex and his friends only grinned, as though the whole thing were another game. But Ural no longer saw it as amusement. She realized humans weren't dangerous only for what they did after silence. They were dangerous because silence itself was mercy. It offered an escape before violence, a choice before the storm. The truth struck hardest in her final year. The graduation trial was a mock negotiation between rival factions over a contested system. Voices clashed, accusations flew, and the session teetered toward staged war. Ural, chosen as mediator, glanced at the humans. They hadn't spoken once. She understood now. She mirrored them. She lifted her hand, asked for silence, and then waited. The room squirmed, restless, confused. But in the hush, tempers cooled. Reflection replaced shouting. The crisis ended not with a staged battle, but with uneasy understanding. The instructors praised her skill, but she gave credit where it was due. "I only borrowed what humans taught me," she said quietly. The strength of quiet. Years later, as a diplomat for her people, she carried that lesson across worlds. In councils aboard warships between hostile factions, she wielded silence not as emptiness but as presence. And wherever humans walked, silence followed like a banner no one dared ignore. The galaxy learned to recognize it. Some feared it, some respected it, but all understood it. Silence was never weakness. It was the moment before everything changed. And so the legend endured. Nothing in the galaxy was more dangerous or more merciful than when humans finally stopped speaking.